While you're working on this handout, you can use this video, stop it and start it as many times as you want. My suggestion is that you work through the handout first, or at least parts of it, and then go back and watch the video to make sure that you're doing it correctly. So obviously I've skipped this top part. So number 2, it says a society's production possibilities frontier is represented on the graph below, assuming that it can produce only 2 goods, guns, and butter. So you should have watched the video and you should understand that what we're looking at is all the opportunities of making just 2 products in our economy, and so in this case, guns and butter. And these are all of the various combinations that can be produced if we are using all of our resources. And we haven't talked about specifically what all those resources are, and that's okay. But what you need to understand is that all the machines are being used, tools, anything, all the people are being used, and all our natural resources. There are no more available, which means we can't produce outside the curve. And inside the curve, these are all possibilities, but we are underutilizing our resources if we are operating inside. So the first question says, suppose it is currently producing the guns and butter combination represented by point C. So we're going to find point C right here. How many guns is it producing? So we have guns over here, so we'll go over to this point, and at that point we are able to produce 700 guns. How many tons of butter? So we're just going to follow this down, and it's going to be 200 tons of butter that we can produce. And then the next question says, now suppose it wanted to increase butter production from 200 to 300 tons. So we're going to move from this point over to this point. What would be the opportunity cost of doing so? And a cost is something that you give up. And this is where I have some students having some difficulties, because if we go from 200 to 300, did you give up any butter? You did not give up anything there. What you did give up, though, if we're using all of our resources and we're operating on this curve, if we want to make any more butter, we can't make as many guns. And so we're going to go from C to D, and from the difference between 700 and 600 is a difference of 100. So we have to give up 100 guns. We give up the opportunity to make those 100 guns. So if we're going to move from 200 to 300, from point C to point D, the opportunity cost is 100 guns, because once again, on the curve, we are using all of our resources. There isn't anything left. There are no more people to work, there are no more machines, and there are no more natural resources. So would it be possible for this economy to produce 400 guns and 500 tons of butter? So you're just going to come over to 400, and where 500 and 400 intersect, it is outside the production possibility. This point is impossible. It can't be made because we don't have any more resources. So is it possible? No. We'll label that point G. Point G is not possible because we don't have the resources. So this handout, a little more in depth, a few more things we're just going to kind of add to that. So what we have here are 2 different goods, and it doesn't matter what they are. You could call them guns and butter. You can call them anything you want to. But we're going to have good A and good B. So if the economy is producing 12 units of B, and that's this point up here, and 0 units of A, we want to know what the opportunity cost of increasing good A from 0 units to 1 unit. So we are going from 12 and 0. If we want to increase and start making 1A, then we're going to go up in 10. So what is the opportunity cost? We're increasing here, so we're not giving up anything. It's not a cost. We are decreasing good B by 2 units. We are giving up 2 units of B to make 1 unit of A. The next question, if we go from 1 unit, we're not going back to 0. It says we're going to go from 1 to 2. So we didn't lose anything. That's not a cost. But now we're going from this point to this point, and so we're giving up from 10 to 8 is a loss of 2. Then when we go from 2 units to 3 units, we're going from this point to this point. So from 8 to 6. Once again, we're giving up 2 units of B to produce an additional unit of A. If you look at these terms, what is happening to our opportunity cost? As I increase 1, is this number staying the same? Is this number going up? Is it decreasing, or is it staying 0? And at this point we can see we give up 2, which is a constant opportunity cost. And the other thing that you have to understand or make sure you can see is when we have a constant opportunity cost, your production possibility curve is going to be a straight line, which is not always going to be the case and is not really a typical production possibility curve, and we'll talk about why later. If you notice this curve, it is bowed out a little bit. It is not a straight line, so we're going to see something different. Oops, let me put that in view. We're going to see something a little different in terms of our opportunity cost because the line is bowed out. And so if we are starting at 12 and 0, we can produce 12 units. If we're using everything that we have to produce good B, then there's no possibility that we can make any good A. So we're using all of our resources to make 12 units of B, 0 units of A. What is the opportunity cost from moving good A from 0 to 1? So when we go from 0 to 1, we move on the curve and we go from 12 to 10. And that's an opportunity cost. We give up the opportunity of making 2 units of B. From good A, when we go from 1 unit to 2, so we're going to start here at this point. If we want to add an additional unit, so we're just adding 1 more, what happens here when we go from 10 to 6, the opportunity cost is actually 4. So we're giving up 4 units for just 1 more. And if we want to add 1 more unit of A, which is the next question, we're going from this point to this point. And so we were able to make 6. Now we're able to make 0. So the cost here is a total of 6. So when we look at this, anytime you see a curve that is bowed out like this, the opportunity cost for each 1 unit or each additional unit that you gain here, what you have to give up actually is going up. The opportunity cost is increasing. And this is a typical opportunity cost, or excuse me, a typical production possibility curve. What you typically see is increasing costs because not all resources are equal. And we'll talk more about that later. So all it wants you to do here is to draw a production possibility curve that has an increasing opportunity cost, and that's the one that's bowed out, so just refer back to the other one. I'm not going to have you do 0 opportunity costs. I save that for my AP class, so you don't have to worry about that. And then a constant opportunity cost, once again, is just a straight line. So all you're going to do up here is that's going to be bowed out, and then this one is just going to be a straight line. You know you're giving up the same amount for each one, and on this one, the cost or the opportunity cost is increasing with each one. We're looking at several different curves. Different situations happen. We know that we cannot produce outside the curve unless we have new technology or we find new resources. So this says suppose, well, let's come up here. We're going to start with BB. So this is our curve that we're working with originally, and we're going to start at for each question. Let's say there is a major technological breakthrough in the consumer goods industry. So consumer goods are down here, capital goods are up here. Capital goods are goods that businesses use to make things. So these are the machines. These are the things that we purchase. So if we have a major technological advance in just consumer goods, this point is going to bow out, but this point is going to stay the same. So our new curve would be BD. And let's say a new government comes to power and forbids the use of automated machinery. So we were able to use machines. Now everything has to be done by hand. So if BB is our original curve, are we going to be able to produce as much? At that point, absolutely not. So our numbers are going to go down. And all of these are numbers down here. This is just a number line. This is a number line. So if all the machines are taken away, is it going to be possible in any industry to make as many? Absolutely not. So our new curve is AA. We have massive new source of oil and coal, And there are major technological innovations in both industries. So we're going to see an increase in the consumer and an increase in the capital goods. So we're going to have a new curve of CC. And then it says, if BB represents a country's current production possibility curve, what can you say about point X? Point X, once again, falls outside the curve. If this is full efficiency, this out here is absolutely impossible. You cannot do because you do not have the technology, you do not have the human resource, you don't have the natural resources to produce at that point. And then what can we say about point Y? This is inefficiency. This is underutilization of our resources. This is where we see recessions because people are unemployed and factories are shutting down. Large unemployment, like I said, those sorts of things. And this is our last handout, and it's just reviewing basically what change could cause the production possibility curve to shift from XX to YY. And once again, we are going to shift the curve when we find new sources of or new resources and or increase our technology. This is where people get confused. They think that this is from this point to this point is an increase in technology. It is not. We have all the available technology to produce at this point. All this is saying is that we have unemployment. People are not working. So when you're not using your resources and now we start using them, we go this way. To move the whole entire curve means we've found new resources and we have new technology. So under what conditions might an economy be operating at point Z? Once again, we're not going to produce if there's not a demand for a product. So we produce inside the curve because not everyone wants to buy it. And the other thing is we're in a recession, we're in a depression, and we have unemployment. Why might a government implement policy to move an economy from point B to point A? That's a little trickier, and once again, I think we're just going to save that one for AP. So hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll have some additional production possibility curve handouts that you can work with.